Start. I request Mr. Vikas Singh, President SCBA, and Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President SCBA, to kindly escort Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, to the dais. Mukesh?
Bombay High Court. They forwarded the link.
On behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association, I extend a warm welcome to the Honorable Judge of the Supreme Court, distinguished senior advocate, respected members of the bar, and students from different law colleges. I request Ms. Samta Pushkarna, SCBA Member Executive, to come forward and present planter to Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. It is my privilege to welcome you all to this SCBA lecture series. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association, it is my privilege and honor to extend a very warm welcome to the Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, a jurist whose scholarship, humility, and deep sense of justice have left an enduring mark on our judicial landscape. It is indeed a pleasure to have Sir back with us for the SCBA lecture series, a platform that reflects the continuing dialogue between the bench and the bar, even beyond the courtrooms. Justice Oak's judicial journey has been defined by clarity of thought, compassion in reasoning, and commitment to constitutional value. We are deeply grateful to your Lordship for joining us this evening and for continuing to share your wisdom and insight with the members of the bar. Your presence is both inspiring and enriching for all of us. Once again, on behalf of the entire SCBA fraternity, a warm and heartfelt welcome to the Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak. I request Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President SCBA, to kindly deliver the welcome address on this occasion.
Honorable Mr. Justice Joymala Bagchi, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, former Judge, Supreme Court. Mr. Vikas Singh, President SCBA. Ms. Pragya Baghel, Secretary SCBA. Members of the bar. It gives me immense pleasure on behalf of Supreme Court Bar Association to extend a very warm welcome to all of you present here today. Today, as we gather here today for this lecture, Clean Air, Climate Justice and We Together for Sustainable Future, we can't have a better speaker than Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, who is known for passing many orders related to environment as a judge of the Supreme Court, be it MC Mehta case regarding pollution in Delhi and other cases. As he recently said, when we talk about environmental justice, social justice inevitably comes into the picture. Protection of the environment is not only necessary for preventing natural resources available on planet Earth, but more importantly, it is essential for human beings to lead a healthy, constructive and meaningful life. If we are not able to preserve our environment and protect it from degradation, we are doing an injustice to society at large. Supreme Court has long recognized the right to a clean and healthy environment as part of the fundamental right to life under Article 21. This interpretation now forms the very foundation of what we call climate justice, the recognition that environmental degradation is not merely ecological but constitutional in nature. But as we gather here today, the challenge is not interpretation, it is implementation. The question is not whether we have the right, but whether we have the resolve. Clean air is not a luxury, nor it is a favor granted by policy. It is the most basic element of life, and its protection requires the collaboration of courts, government, and citizens alike. The concept of climate justice invites us to look beyond emission charts and examine the suffering. The poorest who contribute the least to pollution bear the greatest burden of its consequences. In that sense, climate justice is the truest test of social equity. For us in the legal fraternity, the question is not abstract. Each statute, each regulation, each policy governing environmental protection is a living document that shapes lives. Whether it is the Air Control Act, National Green Tribunal jurisprudence, or Article 48A of our Constitution, the spirit remains the same: responsibility. The legal community holds a unique position. We are interpreters of law, but we are also guardians of conscience. When the bar takes up environmental issues with seriousness, it sends a message to society that justice is not confined to penal courts or property disputes. In recent years, courts across India have shown great sensitivity to environmental concerns, from industrial pollution and vehicular emissions to forest protection and waste management. The judiciary has often stepped in to fill the gap where policy hesitated. But the law alone cannot sustain momentum. It must be enforced by awareness and collective will. Climate justice reminds us that nature is not a resource to be consumed, but a relationship to be honored. This relationship is older than any statute and wiser than any policy. The rivers, forests, and air are not silent. They record every action, every neglect, every compromise. To restore them is not a charity, it is restitution. India stands at a crucial point in the global climate dialogue. With its population, diversity, and developmental aspirations, our choices carry global consequences. We are a nation that has known both scarcity and abundance, both drought and flood, both rapid progress and deep disparity. This experience gives us moral authority, but also moral responsibility. Modern problems demand modern solutions. Technology can be a powerful ally in the fight for clean air. From satellite monitoring to emissions to AI-based environmental audits, the tool now exists to make our regulation more precise and enforcement more transparent. The legal fraternity can play an important role. Bar associations can collaborate with municipal bodies, NGOs, and universities to organize awareness drives, tree plantation campaigns, or legal aid clinics on environmental rights. Every small step adds visibility and credibility to the cause. As I conclude, let us remember, every breath we take connects us more deeply than any law. The environment is the ultimate equalizer. It gives to all, demands from all. If justice is the heartbeat of democracy, then clean air is its breath. Without one, the other falters. Let us therefore renew our pledge as lawyers, as citizens, and as custodians of justice to uphold not only the rule of law, but also rhythm of nature. And when future generations look back at this time, may they say that we, the people of this era, did not merely discuss climate justice, we did try to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul. Now I request Mr. Vikas Singh, President, SCBA, to kindly address the gathering.
Justice Abhay Oak, former judge of this court, Justice Joymala Bagchi, sitting judge of this court, present here today, members of the bar, our Vice President Rahul Kaushik, Pragya Baghel, our EC members. It is indeed a very proud moment for us for having Justice Oak with us today to speak on a subject which he has very passionately defended, or rather ensured that whatever best he can do as a judge of the Supreme Court, he should do. We all remember the time when he was handling these matters with regard to the environment, how passionate he was to ensure that whatever best he can do for the city of Delhi. City of Delhi is one of the most polluted cities in the world. And whatever people may say with regard to our vacations, but that is the only time when we are able to get proper clean air. And most of the time we are blessed in many ways, but we are cursed also to be living in Delhi and to breathe this air most of the time. The seriousness that is required of tackling pollution is best exemplified by what Singapore has done. I remember we were I have a small property in Naldera in Shimla, and there was another person who was living there. He apparently was a managing director of a paper mill in Malaysia. And he used to go to Singapore on work on first class, and every time he used to get VIP treatment. On one of his trips to Singapore, he was arrested. And he had to go behind bars. And he just didn't know what has happened to him. When the charges were given to him the next day, it was found that this paper mill in Malaysia owned a forest. And there was a forest fire. and the cloud came into the flyer came into Singapore, and the AQI of Singapore went beyond 80. Now there was some section 35 of the Act, the Singapore Act, which said that a foreign company, even if it is responsible for AQI going above 80, he's criminally liable. And he was arrested, and he was released with a lot of difficulty with the law firms of London and all over getting in. And the company also had a lot of clout. The Prime Minister also of Malaysia talking to the Prime Minister of Singapore with great difficulty. After 5 days, he was released. Now, I remember I was trying to bring up this incident when this matter was being, I was also doing one of these matters on Delhi pollution. I remember Mr. Minesh Dubey's nephew was the petitioner. He was a young boy, a law student, and he was the petitioner. And he had basically challenged this fires that Punjab and Haryana have, that fires, farm fires. And when I tried to bring up this subject, I remember one of the judges on the bench said, no, we can't compare ourselves with Singapore. But that is exactly our problem, that we are not ready to compare ourselves with the best in the world. Our government is not interested, of course, the parliament is not interested, of course, for political reasons, but I don't see why a court should not be ready to pass very strong orders in such matters. Ultimately, what are these farm fires? These farm fires are basically a result of the crop being delayed because they want that the crop should only be sowed on the basis of rainwater and not by using groundwater because of the depletion of groundwater levels. So the crop gets delayed, and the next crop, they have very short period of time. So the best way to dispose of these stubble is by burning them. And they do it on a regular basis. It has also been made a crime, but nobody is ready to take strong action against them, to arrest them or to put them behind bars or to do some strong steps against them. The state is not in a position to provide for enough harvesting equipment, which can be easily done to ensure that these stubbles are immediately taken care of. So I personally feel that, especially from Justice Oak, and I feel that his views will definitely resonate within the judiciary. He has been on this bench for a long period of time, that these issues of pollution for Delhi need a very strong solution. And the strong solution will not come from the executive or the legislature. It will have to come from the courts only. And I hope Justice Oak will also dwell on those subjects. I'd not like to detain all of you anymore because we are all ultimately waiting to hear this lecture. This is the third lecture series. We started with Justice Suryakant was the first lecture, Justice Lalit was the second lecture, and today is our third lecture, and very soon we are going to do a lecture every month. So very soon we'll be announcing our fourth lecture as well. So I now would request Justice Oak to please give your lecture.
Thank you, sir. In cloudy mist and haze of Delhi, I request Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak to kindly throw the light on today's topic.
My esteemed colleagues, Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Justice Joymala Bagchi, Mr. Vikas Singh, President of SCBA, other office bearers, senior members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to address this august gathering on a very important subject which is dear to me. I am very delighted to be back here with all of you. I can never forget my days in the Supreme Court. It was a great learning experience for me. The thrill of hearing and deciding cases was unmatched. If you work as a judge for 22 long years, you get addicted to this thrill. And that is how, after a limited office, it became difficult for me to adjust to a new life. I had such a memorable stay in Delhi. I enjoyed those very long, never-ending working hours and morning walks in beautiful Lodhi Garden, Nehru Garden, and of course Sundar Nursery. I was associated with 3 MC Mehta cases. Brother Justice Ujjwal Bhuyan sat with me for a long time dealing with those cases. Few days back, just before Diwali, some young law students met me in my office in Mumbai. They wanted to record my podcast. All of them, without exception, started questioning me on recent relaxation of cracker ban. I told all of them that I cannot comment upon any order passed in any case with which I had dealt with as a judge. And it is for someone else to say whether those orders are right or wrong and to draw proper conclusions. To put it differently, I am not going to touch MC Mehta cases or any other case which I have dealt with on the judicial side. Maybe somebody may feel that there won't be any fireworks today. I think this is the most appropriate year to discuss the concept of environmental or climate justice, as we are celebrating 75 years of existence of our Constitution. In our preamble, we the people of India resolved to secure justice to all its citizens. The concept of justice under the preamble is a broader justice. It's not traditional justice rendered by our courts. It is a broader concept of justice which includes social, economic, and political justice. The environmental or climate justice will fall into 2 categories, social and economic justice. As all of you know, earlier speakers also referred to that, the pollution of air and water must be regarded as a violation of rights guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Right to live in pollution-free atmosphere is guaranteed under Article 21, which also encompasses the right to live with human dignity. I firmly believe that it is impossible to live with human dignity unless you have healthy atmosphere around you. Protecting environment, preserving environment, including both man-made and natural environment, is a matter of grave concern for human existence. We degrade and destroy environment under the wrong notion that earth belongs to us. In fact, we belong to earth. The protection of environment is not necessary only for preserving natural resources available on the planet earth, but more importantly for enabling human beings to lead a healthy, constructive, and meaningful life. As we are unable to preserve our environment and protect it from degradation, we are doing grave injustice to the society at large. As we allow degradation of the environment or destruction of the environment, we are denying ourselves social justice guaranteed under the preamble of the Constitution. The drastic effects of environmental degradation or destruction are far-reaching. Environmental degradation, as all of you know, causes loss of natural resources. It contaminates the water in our rivers and wells. In large area of India, people depend on drinking water on our wells and rivers. So they are forced to drink contaminated water. The pollution contaminates beaches and seafronts. If groundwater or river water becomes polluted, our farming community is adversely affected. Contaminated water affects crop quality. If our beaches, seafronts, and creeks get polluted, it affects community of fishermen. So therefore, environmental degradation has direct connection with our economy. And therefore, I said it is a facet of economic justice. We must also remember that degradation of environment affects the livelihood of the poor and marginalized. Talking about Delhi pollution, all of us sitting in this hall have air purifiers at our home and offices. But majority of population in Delhi cannot afford these machines. There are people who live in shanties. Large population works on the streets. They are working on the street. There are vendors there are stallholders. So this class of citizens is the worst affected by the pollution in Delhi. For them, the pollution in Delhi becomes life-threatening in many ways. If somebody calls upon me to disclose the most important reason or most crucial reason for our failure to protect environment, I will say that it is failure of all citizens of India and the state to perform our fundamental duty under Clause G of Article 51A of protecting and preserving environment, trees, and water bodies. Article 51A Clause G refers to living beings as part of the environment. As said by our court, it is also a collective responsibility of the state to perform the duties under Article 51A. Unfortunately, there is a tendency to damage the environment in the name of religion. If we examine tenets of all religions in India, we will find that message of protecting the environment, showing compassion to living beings, will be found in the tenets of every religion. All religions proceed on that hypothesis. No religion permits us to destroy the environment. The religions teach us to protect our environment and to show compassion to the living beings and animals. No religion permits us to cause cruelty to animals while celebrating festivals. There is an interesting article published by UN Environmental Programme under the title Religions and Environmental Protection. That article makes very interesting reading. I am going to quote part of that article. The article says, and I quote, "All religions agree that nature is an act of divinity and should be treated as such. Almost all religions address the issue of creation of the universe or universes in different forms with varying degrees of clarity and detail. However, all religions agree that the creation is an act of God and should be treated as such." Interestingly, this article also records expectations from spiritual leaders. And I quote, it says, "Spiritual leaders at all levels are critical to success of the global solidarity for an ethical, moral, and spiritual commitment to protect the environment and God's creation. These leaders can become observers, make public commitments, share the story of their commitments and the challenges and joys of keeping them, and invite others to join them. In addition, they can display their sustainable behaviors, serving as role models for their followers and public." This is the expectation of UN from our spiritual leaders, because they are expected to encourage people to protect the environment. Thereafter, this article proceeds to discuss the religious text of various religions and ultimately concludes that every religion emphasizes on the fact that environment has to be protected at any cost. Interestingly, there is a Islamic Declaration of Global Climate Change of 2015. In detail, it talks about human-induced global climate changes. And it talks about, I'll quote, "the gifts bestowed on us by God, gifts such as functioning climate, healthy air to breathe, regular seasons, and living oceans. But our attitude to these gifts has been short-sighted, and we have abused them. What will future generations say about us, who leave them a degraded planet as our legacy? How will we face our Lord and Creator?" This is what this 2015 Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change says. In every religion, great religious leaders have brought about reforms. The spirit of reform contemplated by our Constitution is part of every religion. All saints have told us the importance, saints belonging to different religions, they have told us the importance of environment, and in particular trees, rivers, and lakes, as well as birds and animals. They have told us about the pristine glory of our nature. I am not religious. I don't believe that I belong to any religion. But I keep on reading what our saints said and did. Since I come from Maharashtra, I'll give you 2 examples from Maharashtra. Many of you must have heard name of great saint, Sant Tukaram. Centuries back, he said that we must treat plants and animals as our relatives. He told us that flora and fauna are part of our legal family. This concept is evolved by this saint about 5 or 6 centuries back. And his message is very clear: we must treat plants and animals as our relatives. I want to give one example of a modern saint. His name is Sant Gadge Maharaj. He worked in the last century, 20th century. Many of you must have heard about place known as Pandharpur, where there is a temple of Lord Vithoba. Twice a year, I think in Ashad and Kartik, lakhs of devotees visit this temple of Pandharpur. It is on the bank of river Chandrabhaga. And it is, you will find that in judicial orders of Bombay High Court also. Visit by lakhs creates huge pollution in the river. This great saint, Gadge Maharaj, used to go to Pandharpur on these 2 auspicious days. He used to stay there without visiting the temple, and he used to lead a campaign to clean the bank of river Chandrabhaga. Because of the dirt created on the bank of the river used to get polluted. So he used to give signal, he used to personally take a broom and start sweeping the bank of river. In fact, he has appealed repeatedly to stop animal sacrifice as part of religious rituals. And he believed that cleanliness was godliness. In fact, as I said, many religions and philosophies believe that nature is act of divinity. This idea makes human beings responsible for protecting the environment, but conveniently we ignore it. I said that don't expect any firecrackers today, but I must refer to firecrackers. I'll give an example of firecrackers bursting in Diwali. It's not confined to Diwali and Hindu festival. In many parts of India, I have seen on the first day of Christian New Year, firecrackers are used. Firecrackers are used in marriage processions of people belonging to practically all religions. Can anyone say that bursting of firecrackers is an essential part of any religion which is protected under Article 25? When we celebrate festivals for joy and happiness. These are the festivals when families come together, they exchange gifts, sweets. But question is, how do we derive joy and happiness by bursting crackers, which will cause huge irritation to old and infirm birds and animals? Other question is whether our religions encourage lakhs to take bath in a river in the name of religion, thereby polluting the river. Please rationally think about it. If lakhs or crore people go to a river and take bath, will it not cause pollution of the river? So question is whether bursting of firecrackers or this kind of activity which creates pollution of the rivers is protected by Article 25. According to my limited knowledge, answer must be firmly in the negative. Since I come from Maharashtra and particular area of Bombay, please visit our beaches and few lakes which are in and around Bombay after Ganpati Visarjan. You'll imagine and you can see from your own eyes what kind of damage we cause by immersion of idols. It's not confined only to Ganpati Visarjan. There are other religious festivals held on the beaches and on our lakes. Unfortunately, my own High Court permitted making of idols of plaster of Paris taller than 6 feet, completely contrary to guidelines laid down by the Central Pollution Control Board. not only it was permitted, but High Court permitted immersion of these bigger idols in sea, river, and lakes. I saw the after effects of this order on our beaches. Of course, there is silver lining as far as state of Maharashtra is concerned. The state governments and local authorities for immersion of these idols create artificial ponds. But we are not able to convince large section of our population to use these artificial ponds so that we avoid pollution of our rivers, lakes. But we are not able to persuade our citizens to do that. In fact, the Bombay High Court order says that these taller idols of having height of more than 6 meters made up of POP should be immersed in our lakes and rivers. Issue of lakes is something very important. In city like Bangalore, there are a large number of lakes. With the passage of time, lakes have disappeared. Now, lakes play a very important role. Lakes and all water bodies play a very important role in our ecology and our environment. When we come to festivals of all religions, we use loudspeakers in violation of noise pollution rules. We create huge noise pollution. Science has proven the ill effects of noise pollution on human bodies. You can see that the music is so loud that some buildings vibrate, the vehicles vibrate. I don't think any religion permits or encourages the use of loudspeakers for celebrating religious festivals or for religious purposes. Take any religion, for example, use of loudspeakers for azan on mosque. There is a judgment of the Bombay High Court. It says that this is not protected, is not part of essential religious practice. It is not protected by Article 25. And that judgment has been approved by the Supreme Court. Why do we require loud music to celebrate festivals? Why can't we realize that it affects human beings and especially old, infirm, and infants? What joy we get by creating noise pollution, maybe by bursting crackers, maybe by using loudspeakers while celebrating the festivals. When we create such huge noise, human beings can afford to have earplugs to prevent entry of that unwanted noise in ears. But what about birds? What about animals? Recently I read on online news channels that for celebrating religious festivals, there were lights put on the trees, which not only destroyed the trees, but it destroyed the birds. These lights affected the birds. We never think of what happens to birds and what happens to the animals. Crackers are burst very close to our forests, which directly affects our wild animals. The most unfortunate part, which I have experienced during the last several years, is that we don't find any political leader making an appeal to the citizens not to create pollution or not to destroy environment while celebrating festivals. This applies to all religions. I am not confining myself to any particular religion. In fact, one gets an impression that some of them encourage members of the public to do that. This is a grave area of concern. As I said, it is our fundamental duty to protect and preserve environment, to protect our trees, to protect our lakes, to protect our animals. But the political class doesn't seem to know or aware about this fundamental duty. The same is true also about our religious leaders, barring, of course, few honorable exceptions. When we come to the chapter of fundamental duties, there is one very interesting provision, Clause H of Article 51A, which says that it is duty of every citizen to develop scientific temper and spirit of reforms So to develop scientific temper and spirit of reforms is our fundamental duty, and that becomes collective fundamental duty of the state. We repeatedly, and rightly so, keep on telling what Dr. Ambedkar taught us, but we conveniently forget that the chapter on fundamental rights, fundamental duties, is now very much a part of the constitution given to us by Dr. Ambedkar. If any religious practice or celebration of festivals contributes to pollution, we must initiate reforms based on science. In fact, that is our constitutional duty. There are a lot of misgivings about the concept of scientific temper. We must remember one thing: developing scientific temper, doing duty of developing scientific temper is not against any religion. Constitution does not tell you that don't keep faith in the God or don't keep faith in religion. Constitution says that you must initiate reforms, and reforms can be initiated only on the basis of science. About 100 years back, nobody would have imagined electric or gas crematorium, but it has come to stay, and science has helped us. I remember about 30, 40 years back, people were hesitating to use electric crematoriums, where basically the idea of setting up electric crematoriums came to protect the environment, because we can't burn wood. But now that idea has been accepted. I can give you hundreds of such examples that with the passage of time, based on science, the religions have evolved. And in fact, in my view, religions survived only because of reformers and the reforms brought about. Otherwise, religions would not have survived for centuries. Now, talking about the climate justice or environmental justice in the context of our traditional justice delivery system, I believe that courts must always keep it in mind their duty of preservation and conservation of environment. Judges are also citizens of India. If the framers of the Constitution expect all citizens to perform their fundamental duty, it is all the more necessary for the judges, who are supposed to become role models, to do their fundamental duty of protecting the environment, protecting the living beings, protecting the plants, protecting our seas and lakes. Because if judges don't perform their fundamental duty, who else will do it? And in fact, judges are in far more better position than a common man to perform their duty, because they have judicial power to ensure that not only citizens perform their fundamental duty of protecting environment, but also state does it. And I always believe that when we do justice to environment, we as judges, we do justice to living beings, we do justice to the not only human beings, but all living beings. We do justice to planet Earth. The courts are custodians of fundamental rights guaranteed under Article 21, which includes right to live in pollution-free atmosphere. My personal view, I may be wrong there, as my judgments can go wrong, my personal view is, considering today's scenario, the only institution which can protect the environment is the court or the courts of law. I firmly believe, and I try to practice that as a judge, that all courts must adopt a zero tolerance approach to the violation of environmental laws. The courts must be extra sensitive in these matters where violation of rules regarding environment or degradation of environment, destruction of environment is brought to the notice of the court. The courts must come down heavily on those who try to damage the environment and laws governing the environment. Whenever it is established that environment has been damaged and the damage done can be scientifically or effectively restored, it is the duty of the court to pass necessary directions or a writ of mandamus, maybe continuing mandamus, to ensure that the damage is undone. There are instances where lakes are destroyed, but courts can't take a view that, look here, lake may be there, but why should we restore it after years? Lakes contribute not only to a pristine beauty of our nature, but it is very, very essential part of our ecology and environment, water bodies and lakes. But today we see a scenario where some courts say that, all right, lake may have been destroyed, but what is the use of restoring it now after lapse of time? That can't be the approach of the court. In fact, I have said so in one of the orders that for protecting the environment, the courts must pass strong orders which may appear to be harsh to a few. I am worried about recent amendments to the Environment Protection Act. There are similar amendments to Air Act and Water Act. Section 15 of the Environment Protection Act provided that any violation, any contravention of the provisions of the Act, the rules, regulations, and orders passed under the Environment Protection Act will constitute an offense, and there was a provision to set criminal law in motion by filing a complaint before the competent magistrate. Surprisingly, the legislature has chosen to delete those provisions, not only under the Environment Protection Act, but also under the Air and Water Act. Water pollution is such a sensitive issue. Now, the result of this amendment is that if somebody pollutes water, somebody pollutes drinking water, he can't be penalized. Now, all these provisions are replaced by a provision for monetary penalty. And we must find out instances where the authorities have enforced the provision regarding imposing penalty. When I'm talking about the courts, as I said, common man looks upon judges to perform their fundamental duty and to enforce the laws regarding environment. But here, members of the bar have also a role to play. I must say, I'm not talking about only MC Mehta case, but I must say that the lawyers who were appointed as amicus in all these environmental matters, right from days of Justice Kuldeep Singh, these lawyers have made major contribution for developing or evolving jurisprudence regarding the environmental or climate justice. But that is not enough. It's elementary principle that members of the bar appearing not only in environmental matters but in any matter must remember that firstly they are officers of the court. And especially in environment matters when lawyers appear, they must do their first duty of being officers of the court, and it is their duty to assist the court in protecting the environment. This duty comes first to the lawyers in these matters. If the courts fail to fulfill their duty to protect and preserve the environment, future generations will blame them. When I say that all judges are citizens of India, they are bound by the chapter on fundamental duties. And there is one more provision. There is one more provision, the first clause in Article 51A. It's a duty to uphold the Constitution and to respect the ideals of the Constitution. In our Constitution, there is Article 21 which confers right on everyone to live in pollution-free atmosphere. If there is a duty to abide by the Constitution, then naturally I can't create pollution and take away somebody else's fundamental right guaranteed under Article 21. And this first clause of Article 51A puts more burden on the judges and members of the bar because it is their duty to uphold the Constitution and the rights conferred by Constitution. I can't say that on the occasion of religious festival, I have a right to create pollution, air, noise, or water pollution. I can't say that because I owe a fundamental duty to abide by the Constitution, and abide by the Constitution is to ensure that everyone gets his right under Article 21. My personal view is that when the courts deal with environmental matters, they should not be influenced by popular or religious sentiments. In environmental justice, which is based on fundamental rights and fundamental duties, I don't think there is any place for popular or religious sentiments unless there is some practice of religion which is protected by Article 25. At least the judges should not get influenced by popular or religious sentiments if they want to truly uphold the fundamental rights and fundamental duties, and if they want to really protect the environment. Justice Kuldeep Singh has given us many gifts when it comes to environmental law. Then the concept of green benches was evolved. Every High Court is supposed to have green bench, Supreme Court has green bench. Unfortunately or fortunately, I was never a part of green bench except for a few years when I was Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court. Last year, there was a symposium in one of the law schools where the issue was naturally about environment. So one of the students, young student, got up and he asked me a very pertinent question which I can never forget. He asked me a question, how green are our green benches? It was a very difficult question to answer for me as a sitting judge. Even today I find it difficult. So it's a matter of debate, how green are our green benches. But I can close this topic by saying only one thing, that whether a bench is green or otherwise depends on nature of orders passed by it and not on the basis of nomenclature. When we talk about environment, we talk about decisions of the court. And I must again acknowledge the contribution made by our courts, the Supreme Court and High Courts. Ultimately, Article 21 is given expanded meaning by the courts. The courts said that right to live in pollution-free atmosphere is a fundamental right guaranteed under Article 21. And when we deal with environmental matters, very often lawyers or we refer to international conventions, the resolutions passed by various international bodies. In fact, in India, we don't have to rely upon those conventions because for centuries, our religions and philosophers have taught us the importance of preserving the environment. We need not go to this international convention. It is very much there as a part of our culture. Maybe with the passage of time, we have forgotten what is best in our culture. I have been a party to several decisions of the Bombay High Court, Karnataka High Court and Supreme Court dealing with the issues of environment. Now I have a little bit of free time. I keep on thinking whether I could have done better while dealing with those cases, but that's another topic. I always keep on thinking about it, whether I could have passed more harsh orders than what I did. But it is for others to say that. I can't comment upon it. But surely that introspection I always make because I have that time to look at my own orders and maybe to become my own critic. I have experience of more than 42 years in legal fraternity. Something sadly I have to say is that I find that there are very few citizens who show enthusiasm and, more importantly, muster courage to take up environmental issues by approaching the court. Unfortunately, the reason is that they don't receive active support of the society at large. In fact, our experience has been those who take up environmental issues to the court are branded as anti-development and somebody who wants to obstruct the developmental activities. Unfortunately, these activists who do this pro bono work, they take so much of efforts, they take so much of risk by taking the environmental issues to the court. They are ridiculed by political class. They are targeted by religious groups. This is the most unfortunate situation. I always give example of a litigant from my own state, Maharashtra. There was one gentleman who had taken short service commission for 5 years in armed forces. After 5 years, he came back, he joined a bank, he became manager. He was old resident of that city. He acquired an apartment and he suddenly realized that as a child he had seen a beautiful lake in front of the building in which his apartment was situated, and entire lake was encroached upon by building structures, and most of the structures were being used for industrial use, all illegal use. So he, after his retirement, decided to take up the cause. He filed a PIL. Fortunately, he got good benches. The first day of hearing, the court directed municipal corporation to remove all encroachments. But the real plight started thereafter. He offended some of the leaders, and therefore somebody ventured to file FIR against him on the ground that there was a temple in that area where original lake was there, and that temple was damaged while implementing the order of the court. Therefore, he was taken to police station, FIR was registered. Fortunately, in those days, there were proactive benches in Bombay High Court. The bench dealing with the PIL was kept pending. In that very petition, the court quashed the FIR. But I want to tell you something further, how these people are treated by our society. The court took very proactive view. Court appointed a leading lawyer who used to appear in environmental matters in Bombay High Court, and later on who became judge of the Bombay High Court, to visit the site because the work of restoration of lake had started. So court appointed him and some experts to ensure that not only that lake is restored, but there's a beautiful garden made around the lake. So that all happened under the orders of the court. And one day came where so many political leaders were invited to open the facility of lake. There was a walking track made and garden made. There was a competition to take credit for that work. The worst part is, this gentleman was not invited to attend that function. He watched the entire function from the terrace of his building. You could see the function. This is how we treat those who take up the environmental issues. I understand that people may not support, but now they are being targeted. In fact, with some sense of responsibility, I'll say this, that even the judges who have passed strong orders in environmental matters are being targeted. There are examples of that. We always forget, we members of society, we always forget that those who are fighting for environment are fighting for social and economic justice. In fact, that was a dream of framers of our constitution led by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, that we should have social and economic justice. So these people, environment activists, they take up the fight to uphold citizens' right to live in pollution-free atmosphere. Unfortunately, we are not rewarding these people who take up the fight for the sake of environment. Of course, they don't expect rewards. But all that they expect is some support, but we don't give that support. Now, there is a prevailing view propounded by some people that the environmental concerns must be balanced with the need for development. There are quite a few who think that the development work must get precedence over the environmental issues. Perhaps all this happens because we have ignored what real development means in terms of the framework of the Constitution. Obviously, objective of any development work is to improve citizens' quality of life. How do we define development in the context of Constitution, which incorporates Article 48A, because these fundamental duties have come by way of 42nd Amendment. How do we define development in the context of Constitution, which incorporates Article 48A, which enjoins the state to endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest? How do we define development in the context of Clause G of Article 51A? So what is the concept of development in the constitutional framework? We need to work on this. We need to seriously work on this. Well, ultimately, when we say that preference should be given for development work, we must apply our mind and define what is development within the framework of our constitution. I think that the real development is where in our cities, affordable residential accommodation is created for poor people, and we create affordable transport facilities, affordable facilities of education and health to common man. If this is achieved, then we can say that there is a development. Today in our cities, go to any city, can a common man venture to acquire residential accommodation? It is impossible. So therefore, we need to work on the definition of development. Only we have proper definition of development in the context of the constitutional concept, then we can think of balancing the work relating to development with the ecology or environment. There is a recent criticism by a very eminent and learned individual who occupies a very good post in the government. I have highest respect for that man. He said that the court orders come in the way of Vikasit Bharat. I have said so in my judgments, I have said so on public platforms that every citizen of India has right to offer constructive criticism of judiciary, the judgments and orders of the judiciary. It has to be a constructive criticism. And at any cost, we must uphold that right. I have said so repeatedly. But this learned man should have given instances of those judicial orders which, according to him, obstructed an endeavor to make Vikasit Bharat. He should have given particulars. Which are those orders? If he had given those particulars, his criticism would have become constructive criticism, which is most welcome. It should be welcomed by all judges and members of the legal fraternity. But this is no constructive criticism when you in single sentence say that there are court orders which came in the way of Vikasit Bharat. If he had given instances, objectively, we, the members of the legal fraternity, we would have studied those orders, and maybe in a given case, we would have said, yes, a particular order may have come in the way of endeavor to have Vikasit Bharat. I think this criticism is not made by only one human being. There are many who make this criticism. We must welcome this criticism provided somebody establishes that these are the orders, these are the judgments which violated the constitution and which did not allow development work within the framework of constitution to go on. I think now all of you have worked today. I had privilege of not working, so I must come to end of my lecture. Before I conclude, I must say that to do environmental justice or climate justice, we need stricter implementation of environmental laws. And as I said, it's the duty of the court to do so, but we will not succeed in our endeavor without public participation and support. We will not succeed in our endeavor unless our democratically elected leaders support the cause of environment, actively support the cause of environment. Otherwise, as it happens in case of some of the orders of the court, all these orders will remain on paper. Today, I landed in Delhi from Mumbai. I could see the cloud of pollution over Delhi. From the top, I could see. And I must tell you that such kind of pollution is not monopoly of Delhi. Bombay is not far behind. But Bombay we have advantage of sea breeze, which protects the city. There are other cities which may compete with Delhi in pollution. When I analyze this scenario in the context of performance of our fundamental duty or in the context of enforcing our right to live in pollution-free atmosphere, I am constantly reminded of what Albert Einstein said in a different context. he said something which is very interesting, which aptly applies to the scenario about environment. What Einstein said, I quote, he says, "The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything." This is squarely applicable to the present scenario about the environment. I think this one sentence gives us enough message, not only to common man, but especially to members of the legal fraternity. I thank Mr. Vikas Singh and his colleagues for giving me this opportunity to have this dialogue with you. And I have always said that, I may have committed mistakes in writing judgments. Similarly, my thought process may not be liked by many. But I thought that unless I strongly plead my thought process, the discussion will not start. And this was my endeavor to just communicate my personal views. Of course, these personal views are always influenced by my role as a judge for 22 years. So I thank the organizers for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful speech. After listening to your speech, sir, I will go back and remove the decoration from my little plants. Nature deserves to breathe freely too. So now I request Minesh Dubey, Joint Secretary SCBA, to give vote of thanks.
Thanks, Pragya. As we gather under the cloudy sky of Delhi today, it reminds us that our commitment to a cleaner and healthier environment must remain clear. This refreshing environment is a symbol of what collective awareness and commitment can achieve. Let us carry forward this spirit of clean air, climate justice, and sustainable development, not just in discussion, but in our daily action as members of the legal and civic community. In the august presence of Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjwal Bhuyan and Honorable Mr. Justice Joymala Wakchi, Judge Supreme Court of India, we are extremely grateful to Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay S. Oak, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, to deliver the lecture. I am also thankful Mr. Raju Datta, Senior Advocate, Mr. Anil Odda, former Joint Secretary, Mr. Devrat, former Secretary Skora, and members of the bar. I request EC members to come on dais for photograph. May I request Justice Ujjwal Bhuyan and Justice Bakchi to come on dais? Lordship, kindly join us. This is the environment.
Members of the bar can also meet Justice Oak and can have click pictures with him. Even the students can meet Justice Oak and have pictures with him.
I request all of you to kindly join us for high tea at this floor and ground floor.
हमारा बराबर 5:30 बजे डली है। क्लाइमेट तो तेरी